I'll upload the recording when we're done here,
Great.
and then you can kind of back reference that.
Thank
Okay, so
you.
the first thing I want to do is in my project map, we're going to go to worksheets. I have a whole bunch of stuff in here. This is an old project, but I'm going to say new independent worksheet, and I'm going to say DWG PLN plan export, and we'll call this basement. So each floor plan is going to get its own DWG, so that way they all have the same 00 origin reference.
Okay.
Um, right, and then I can take that same thing and I can duplicate it, or I can go new and DWG PLN plan export first floor. So I would do this for each of the plans, each of the sections, each of the elevations. Let's do one for sections or elevations as well. So DWG elevation export exterior elevations. All right, so I have a oh, looks like I got a typo there. It doesn't matter. The prefix here is just for organizational purposes. Okay,
Hmm.
so I'm going to go to the basement here. This is my basement worksheet. One second here. I will close all the windows and tabs. Just try and make this as streamlined as possible. Okay, so I'm going to go to my lower level floor plan here. This is everything I need to see. And as every project probably happens, there's like stuff off to the side and everything. I don't need all of that. I just need this stuff right here. So I'm going to copy that into here and use the original location. And if prompted, you're going to show hidden elements. Now, because this converts to lines and fills, right, there might be other stuff that you need to clean up or whatever. Like you can really quickly just grab the stuff and not worry about it. So you can do
Okay.
kind of a cursory cleanup, just out of a courtesy.
Hmm.
I like to use the find and select to grab all things that, like, let's say all fills and layer name contains, I drop that again. Actually, let's just say it contains, oh yeah, foundations, that's fine. So I can grab all of my foundation stuff. And here, if I look, I've got 127 fills.
Oh,
So I can
no.
go to edit, reshape, fill consolidation, and okay. And if we check again, there's 50 fills. So we've already reduced that down.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Let's go to fills for, we'll just say the layer name contains wall. I'm going to grab all the fills that are on walls. And you can see here, like, it's a little bit easier because my foundations are not included, but maybe I want to include those. So because some of these fills actually do run across.
Hmm.
So we'll include those as well. And then we'll go, oh, double check here. So we've got 340 fills. And a lot of this is like what you were saying is like there's just fills on fills on fills in these corners. So if we go
Hmm.
to edit, reshape, and fill consolidation again and say okay.
And if I want to delete those, because a lot of times the graphics are different in CAD, they don't tend to show that. It's just more
Yep.
solid poche. Then I could just remove it, no problem, right?
You can remove it. You can go
Okay.
to the settings of those fills and make them solid. You could
Oh,
whatever you need to do. And
okay.
actually that would unify a lot of them up, but I could see like there's some fills where like in the doorways. I would say like, within reason, don't
Hmm.
if
I
you
know.
if this is all because you put in your notice, like don't spend the next 2 weeks just trudging through all of this because you're gonna hit the wall and like end up being 4 weeks or whatever.
That's what I figured. Well, technically, I actually have 3 days now.
Okay, well, do what you can do in 3 days. And
Yeah.
so we can do the same thing. We can find and select, or honestly, with line work, I just grab all of the polylines and all of the lines
Hmm.
all together. We can check here. There's like 2,300 altogether. If we go to edit, reshape, line work consolidation. Now, the important thing to note here is that polylines using the consolidation can be converted into lines and arcs, or you
Hmm.
can say don't explode the polylines. Um,
Okay.
it cannot consolidate them unless you do explode them, though.
Hmm.
So if we say explode those and just filter through all of these things checked, um, I mean, it's deleted 2,100 duplicates right there alone.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we'll go ahead and say close and check what happened there. So we're at 1,200. We can then go to edit, reshape, and unify. And now that converts all of your lines to polylines. Now if
Hmm.
we check, we've got 472 polylines instead of we start off with whatever thousands of lines and polylines combined.
Okay.
Um, this may have some like fallout, like you may have like weird things where this door runs into that wall. I mean, I don't know if that matters. Being able to say like here's a fill and here's a fill, these because they're running different directions are not going to clean up. But reducing the amount of stuff, in my opinion, has always been better um, for a workable DWG
Hmm.
than like making sure that everything's exactly pristine and this door is separate. If they need to separate that door out, AutoCAD can do this as easily as ArchiCAD can,
Sure.
or more easily. And the reality is like even the fill and line work consolidation can be done in AutoCAD.
Hmm.
You could do things like if we do a find and select for fills that are part of zones, we don't need those zone fills. Let's just grab our fills and double check. So right now, the only fills I have are at the stair or at the walls. So things like this, I can check really quickly and be like, oh yeah, I don't want any of the fills on the stairs because that's going to mask or white out. Um, and again, you sort of have to evaluate, like, is it worth it to go through and clean up this stuff and adjust
Yeah.
weights and all of that? Um, I probably not. I don't know. You sort of have to use your judgment on a lot of that.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
So once this is done, and you've done this for all of your floor plans, lower floor plan, etc., you've copied them into worksheets. You're going to go worksheet by worksheet, and you're going to save as a DWG
Okay.
right here. Let's go put this in sample. Put this right here. I'm going to say this is Vashon Basement, and under the translator settings. The save options, I want to make sure that it's saving to model space. Project origin matches, so that way when they start layering these things up, the 00 origin is consistent. Under
Hmm.
attributes and layers, I know that it's not ideal to say export ArchiCAD layers, because at that point, like all of the wall layers get the same pen. It's a wall pen, whatever, 20,
Hmm.
or whatever the pen number is. You can technically say use the pen number or extend it by pen number, but then you get a wall pen 21, a wall pen 22, a wall pen
Oh,
23. So they end up with a whole ton of pen, different layers. They're probably going to have to convert it to their layer standards anyway. If you had a
okay.
couple of weeks to deal with this, I would say that we could build up a conversion chart and say that the AOL layer goes to whatever their layer name is in their template.
Oh,
You could
yeah.
technically do that, but by the time you map, I mean, that's probably a week's worth just building up the
Oh
translator.
gosh.
So
Yeah.
I think the method, just say ArchiCAD layers, that's the best we're gonna get.
Okay.
Um, they might have some scrambling to rework it anyway. So set that to ArchiCAD layers, the drawing units. The default here prefer drawing units in the DWG file. So when they import it in, it's going to use whatever units they're used to using. So that's, I guess, going down the list, make sure that the drawing units box is checked, the save options is set to model space, and the layer method is set to ArchiCAD layer. Those three
Okay.
things in the save as translator. So we'll save settings and close, Vash on basement, DWG file. Obviously, figure out your naming convention for the DWGs, and then save.
And
Uh,
that didn't need to have the DWG for dummy translator,
um,
or because I've always used that one. So just curious.
Honestly, it doesn't matter which one you
Doesn't
start
matter.
with. If
Okay.
I were to switch to this translator, I still want to go back through and check the drawing units box is checked. The save options is model space. See, so switching to this is changing those settings.
Right.
So I start with for further editing,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
then no matter what translator is used, you want to make sure that that box is checked. This is model space, and this is ArchiCAD layers.
Okay.
So it's very likely that whether you use for further editing, for dummies, for editable import, whatever, you're going to have to check those options. Okay. So now let's look at doing elevations. So I'm just going to copy a couple of the elevations in here. This is a crazy file. There's like, I think about 7 or 8 million polygons in this file.
Wow.
And it's also like, there's like 30 pages of details.
Wow.
Anyway, so I'm gonna grab the north elevation, copy this, and I'm gonna use the same method. I'm gonna go to my worksheet right here, DWG elevations, extra elevations. I'm gonna paste this in, original location, and I'm gonna click out of that. I will come back to, it's gonna take a minute to process that, but okay. And then we'll come back to, oh, sure, we'll just do both these elevations together. Because I think this is going to illustrate one of the issues that you might run into is that these might stack up over the top of each other. So you'll have to
Oh,
like shift them over, let's say 150 feet.
okay.
Uh, Now the south elevation might be like way off to the side, so you might need to shift that over and kind of condense them down.
Hmm.
So we're just going to like condense these down into an organization that makes sense. I'm going to grab, because my site, this is right on the waterfront, so I actually modeled the site to the true depth. So I'm going to trim
Oh,
that down. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to select all this stuff. I'm going to go to edit, reshape, line work consolidation. I'm less worried about like finding line work and fills by layer for the elevations because they're sort of a single use drawing. Like
hmm.
layers don't matter as much for these. So I'm just going to run the line work consolidation and 650 merged. We'll do the fill consolidation. Trim all fills. The fill consolidation, for whatever reason, takes quite a bit longer than the line work
Hmm.
consolidation. But you just let it run.
Okay.
If it's a really big complex drawing with thousands of fills, it might take 10 or 15 minutes. Don't panic, don't force quit, just let it go.
Okay. Good
Uh,
to know because I would probably be freaking out like, uh-oh, did I blow up the computer?
yep, the fill
Okay.
consolidation and the unify commands take a bit. So we'll go and
Okay.
run the unify command. Um, And there's like, even on this one, like you could see that I had a masking fill because I didn't want to see the site beyond a certain point, but I need to see the building beyond a certain point. So
Hmm.
these are sorts of like little things that you might want to clean up. I don't know. You kind of have to use your judgment. Like again, like don't spend all 3 days trying to get one project into extra elevations out. Like
Yeah.
if it's quick, go ahead and like clean some of this stuff up. If it's not, I mean, they have to know that this is not AutoCAD.
Yeah.
Right. So you get all of these in there. Also note that labels, if they're linked to like a window or a door or something like that,
It's all gonna drop off.
they're all
Yeah.
going to drop off. So you might want to just
Mhm.
like nix those out.
Yeah.
Along with the DWGs though, you should also be saving PDFs of the full set anyway, because they want to have like that, like this is what the CAD file is and this is what it should be.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, from here, I don't have to do any kind of marquee or special selection. I just do a save as.
Okay.
Make sure that I'm using that same translator. I've already adjusted that translator, so now I can go bash on elevations, and that'll save out.
Nice. Okay,
And
great.
then, I mean, you can see like in here, there's still like 3,400 polylines. There's a lot of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, it is what it is. It's unfortunate there's like not a better way to get this to AutoCAD.
Yeah.
It's true whether we were using Revit or like literally any other modeling program, just they don't go out to AutoCAD very cleanly. So
Mm. Even Revit doesn't. I heard it was better because it's an Autodesk product, but
no, actually
still.
the it's funny is that the software development for Revit is basically completely divorced from anything Autodesk.
Oh,
They bought
interesting.
they bought Revit. They didn't develop it.
Mm.
They've definitely sort of taken over development of Revit, but it's not. I mean, it's not any more related to AutoCAD than any Nemetschek product is related to each other. So
Oh, wow. Okay, that's good to know because I think the new place I'm going to, I need to start setting up the software there and I like to figure out, recommendation forward. And I want to keep using this, obviously, but they've had
Mhm.
consultants that use Revit. So I'm like, well, if we do that, can I have, these models kind of talk to each other at times, or if that's difficult, I don't know.
Revit to ArchiCAD is not that bad. It's IFC export and import basically.
Okay.
There is certainly some tricks to IFC coordination, but it's doable. I'm working
Okay.
with a team right now on a project in San Francisco that they're pulling in the entire structural engineers model through IFC, and they're just using it straight up. They're not having to touch it or redo any of their
Oh,
work. They're just importing in it, overlays, like all of their structural steel, columns, beams, all of the wood joists and trusses just come right in, and they can adjust the architecture around it, or they
hmm.
can like highlight where the structure doesn't fit into the architecture and send it back to the engineer for updates. It's a pretty nice workflow.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. So yeah, from here it's just a save as.
Okay.
So that's plans, sections, and elevations. You're going to basically create these worksheets, copy and paste all of the views. Now for the plans, it could be that you have the basement plan as a base plan, you have the RCP as a plan. I don't know if you're using the 3D document and floor plan as your RCP method.
I am not
Okay.
actually. It's
So
just like a work view that I
okay.
have as yeah.
That makes it quite a bit easier. The other thing that you could do is you would want to definitely not do the unify command, but you could technically turn all layers on
Hmm.
and copy all of this stuff over
Oh.
to the worksheet because I know it looks like a super messy thing here, but like this fill, for example, is on its own layer. So that does work. The other thing to note is that just like the window markers, these are not going to pull from the
Hmm.
drawings that they're on. So it could be worth it actually to grab all of your marker types, for example. Um, and let's grab all of them. And the grids should be fine. But if we turn off all other layers, maybe save a view of just these markers in that same position.
Okay.
So you could do here. I've got again. I'm not the do what I say, not what I do. Like I've got tons of stuff on the ArchiCAD layer. But if you didn't use the ArchiCAD layer, you could just save as from the floor plan view and say that this is Vashon markers, right? And then they have all of the markers. And I have a marquee around, so I'm only saving what's in that marquee. Now they have all of those detail section elevation, interior elevation references with their layers, with their references. It's all they can basically import that in as a separate DWG or an X.
Okay.
So they're not losing those section elevation references.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. So now the next part is if we go to like let's just take interior elevations as an example. So I'm going to go to phase one, interior elevations. Here you can see I've got all of my interior elevations. I don't want to have to open up, copy each one of these into, oh, looks like I got some sloppy modeling here too. Got can lights floating. Anyway, I don't want to copy each of these into its own worksheet or even into a combined worksheet. And the reality is for interior elevations, they are just going to have to be what they are. There's no other than like creating the DWG and opening it and then cleaning that up, which is a whole headache. Again,
That's what I usually do, and I'm like, is there a better way to do this?
there is. It doesn't make the interior elevations cleaner, but it makes the export seamless. So
Okay.
what we do here is we pull up the organizer. And generally what I do is I save out interior elevations in groups. So if it's multiple buildings, save out by building. If it's multiple floors, save out by floors. So I'm going to come into my publishers here and I'm just going to create a new publisher set. All right, so here's my interior elevation archive publisher set. We'll call this first basement. And we'll create one for DWG.
What I would do is I would, as he said, calculate these.
And we'll create one for PDF.
Please do the accuracy. So I would just do, for example, this one.
And we'll put those here and here.
Add a
And I'm
line,
going to take all of
and then
my,
draw the line towards the top of the ridge, and then I would just put.
I'll just grab a group here. So here I've got like north and south buildings, but if you had like basement, first floor, second floor, whatever, you would group those into separate groups. Here I'm going to grab those and drop those into the DWG folder as well as the PDF folder. PDF folder is fine as is. It's just going to save those out. I'm going to go to format and merge to one PDF. So I get a PDF of what would be like, actually this would be like north or south building or whatever. Like I would group these together in a way that made sense. For the DWG, I'm going to select these and say that this is a DWG. I'm going to check the translator here again because these are coming from a layout. I want to go to save options. Here it's saving a single DWG. That's going to be grayed out. And I'm going to save it to model space because I don't want to give that. Technically speaking, you could save it with XREFs, but then they're going to have a whole folder of each elevation.
No, no, they could
And-
just re-exref this stuff onto the sheet file that
Exactly.
they have. Yeah.
Exactly. And if they need paper space, we could technically do that, but let's just give them the model space and I have the PDF as a reference for how we had those laid out. Um, so here's the only thing that we need to make sure here is I didn't have this place drawings onto option when I was saving from a view. Here I do. If for some reason it shows as linked xref, right? I
Hmm.
want to make sure that I'm switching to a paper space option so that I can put this to a single DWG and then switch it back to model space.
Hmm.
And that's
Okay.
really all there is to that. The other settings, because I'm using the same translator, the methods and the drawing units should all still be the same. So save settings and close. And then I'm going to select the drawing here, the folder, and merge to one DWG. So now I'm going to get basement archive Vashon DWG, basement archive Vashon PDF. And then, so I set this up one folder for basement, one folder for first floor, one folder, or however it needs to be organized, right? So I could create another folder in here and call this first floor and do the same thing with the rest of the layouts, whatever the organization is here. So you would have a folder for first floor, second floor, third floor, whatever, for the various interior elevations. You could do the same thing with like your details. You could say these are just the exterior details. I've also got door and window details and interior details, but you could say like I've got 6.0 to 6.4, just so there's not like a ton of details. But you could do the same thing for your details and just put those into a folder. And then I'm going to right click and publishing properties, save files. Now real folder versus flat folder. The flat folder is going to take every folder and subfolder and just dump it into a main folder. I'm going to create a real folder structure because I have folders and subfolders and it's all organized in a file system that I've already established here. Do not say create a single file. That's for BIMX only. So we want
Oh,
to use the
okay.
real folder structure. I'm going to browse to a local file system. We'll put that in here and okay, and then publish.
Great.
Oh, because it's you do want to make sure that I'll show you this really quickly. So if you go to File, External Content, and Drawing Manager before you hit Publish, you can grab all of this stuff and say Update. I'm not going to do that because that's going to take like 20 minutes. But
Yeah.
doing that ahead of time means that you don't have to like get stopped up by all these things that are not updated.
Oh, okay.
So you know that all of the drawings on all the sheets are updated. So do that first, and then set up the publisher, and then you can just publish it right out.
Nice.
Here
Okay,
I'm just
great.
publishing basically stuff that I know hasn't been updated.
Hmm.
And I can show you how this should come out if we've set it up correctly. The PDF's going to take a couple of minutes because it's trying to combine all of that together, but the DWGs should come together pretty quickly. Let me see, I think I've got, let's see. I've really been liking this Autodesk
Oh,
viewer.
this is how you could see what the file looks like if you don't have it. I
Yeah,
was
and
wondering about that.
this viewer works great because you can import IFC. You can, I mean, there's a whole ton of different formats. It's a view
Hmm.
only option, but it's been great. All
Nice.
right,
Okay.
so we've got a 1 megabyte PDF and then a few saved. So we'll close that. And now if we come back into our viewer here and find the DWG export. Oh, there were images on those, so those come out separately, but here's that DWG. And then here's that PDF. So here's basically this is the legend, the key for what those elevations should look like. And if we open this up here and process this, this is what it will look like. Basically, it just lines all of the elevations up into a single row.
Hmm.
So there's no drawing titles or anything. They'll have to sort of piece it together. You know, you're not leaving them with a seamless work-free process, but
Yeah.
you know, it
Yes.
Not much more I can do. I know. It's kind
no,
of,
I mean the reality is like the only way that you could technically get it 100% dialed for them would be if you exported the DWGs and then imported them all into their template and set, I mean, you would
it's a lot
basically
of
be doing the
work.
legwork for them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I thought. I don't know if it's worth doing all that.
No, definitely. You won't have
Yeah.
the time to. If you've got five projects to get cleaned up in the next 3 days, I would say go through this process for plans, sections, and elevations for each project first, because at least then you're getting them the very basics
Sure.
of the design. Um, and get them DWGs and PDFs. Never save just DWGs because there might be things where like, oh, these markers weren't referenced. They say drawing ID, layout ID. If you give them the PDF, then they know that's supposed to be referencing this section.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's a good
So I would say do a
tip.
full PDF set, plan sections, whatever the documents that you have laid out on layouts. Get them PDFs of all of that, and then save out as much as you can in DWG. Use the worksheet
Hmm.
method for plan sections and elevations. Use the publisher method for interior elevations and details.
Perfect. Okay, that's
If there's
great.
anything else like wall sections or something, you sort of have to use your own discretion on that. If you have like on this project that I'm looking at here, I think there was like 7 or 8 pages of wall sections. Um,
Hmm.
if you have something like that, you probably want to use the publisher. If it's really just 1 or 2 sheets, maybe a couple of wall sections, you can copy those into worksheets and use that cleanup method as well.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I've never done that before, really. I've just kind of exported from the model space, if you will, and then
Mhm.
just sent it out. But I like this method of taking out some of the fills and everything just to kind of clean it up a bit.
So this is actually giving the layouts as well, which is
Oh, wow.
okay. And then in the 2D views, we should get, yeah, so this is what I typically see if you open it in ArchiCAD.
Oh, uh-huh.
So it's just a running view.
Yeah.
But hopefully the fact that this came with its layouts as well, and this is the Autodesk viewer, they should have this stuff linked correctly.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I hope. I mean, that's the idea, right? Is that they have the model
Yeah.
space and the paper space. We've exported it from ArchiCAD to AutoCAD. In
Hmm.
fact, I mean, this is you don't have like I know that there are like masking fills and stuff like that, and there's like some sloppy stuff that pops in here that I had masked out in ArchiCAD.
Sure.
I didn't see all of this stuff in my drawing, but that's I mean that's kind of the breaks. That's what we get when we export.
Hmm.
Yeah, like this stuff right here. Like there's a fill right there I can see.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not going to mask out because AutoCAD does not have background pens.
Hmm.
So.
Okay. And would you say that this is also a good method for consultant drawings too?
Oh
Giving them
yeah.
exports? Okay.
Yep, this is exactly what I do whenever I send, like if I were doing an interior design package to the interior architect, this is exactly what I would do is I would use the publisher for the interior elevations and I would use the worksheet line work fill consolidation for floor plan sections elevations.
Okay, perfect. That sounds good. Yeah, we still have a lot of like engineers that work in CAD, so I've just done my simple method, but this is probably better moving forward.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's like for consultants, it's okay to start with the save as from model space, generally doing like a marquee around what you're saving, so you're getting rid of all of the slop around the model,
Hmm.
only the marquee area is good to start with, but always solicit a response like, hey, is there anything we can do to clean this up? But for the
Yeah.
purposes of like getting this out back to the architect and move on, I think just like follow this process and they'll just have to know that this is as clean as we can get it.
Okay. That sounds great. Thank you so much for showing me this. This is very
Yeah.
helpful.
Of course, of course. I've got a deadline at noon, so I got to jump
Oh
back on
yeah,
that.
no
As soon
problem.
as I get through that deadline, I will get you this recording.
Okay, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Good luck with your deadline.
No problem at all. It's just
Okay.
it's furniture design stuff. So,
Oh, that
anyway,
sounds fun. Okay.
yeah. All right.
All
Good
right.
luck. I will get you the
Thank
recording
you.
as soon as I can.